What is dark web?
The dark web is a part of the internet that isn't indexed by search engines. You've no doubt heard talk of the dark web as a hotbed of criminal activity. And it is. Researchers Daniel Moore and Thomas Ridd of King's College in London classified the contents of 2,723 live dark websites over a 5-week period in 2015 and found that 57% host illicit material. A study, Into the Web of Profit, conducted by Dr. Michael Maguires at the University of Surrey, shows that things have become worse. The number of dark web listings that could harm an enterprise has risen by 20% from 2016 to 2019. Of all listings, excluding those selling drugs, 60% could potentially harm enterprises. What can you buy on the dark web? You can buy credit card numbers, all manner of drugs, guns, counterfeit money, stolen subscription credentials, hacked Netflix accounts, and software that helps you break into other people's computers. Buy login credentials to a $50,000 Bank of America account, counterfeit $20 bills, prepaid debit cards, or a lifetime Netflix premium account. You can hire hackers to attack computers for you. You can buy usernames and passwords. Not everything is illegal. The dark web also has a legitimate side. For example, you can join a chess club or black book, a social network described as the Facebook of Tor. What is the dark web used for? Patrick Tickey, Director of Security and Architecture at Keeper Security and the company's resident expert on the topic, checks in on the dark web regularly because it's important for him to be on top of what's happening in the hacker underground. I use the dark web for situational awareness, threat analysis, and keeping an eye on what's going on, he said. I want to know what information is available and have an external lens into the digital assets that are being monetized. This gives us insight on what hackers are targeting. There are also many tools that can be used to monitor the dark web and scan for personally identifiable information and even respond to attacks. If you find your own information on the dark web, there's precious little you can do about it, but at least you'll know you've been compromised. Bottom line, if you can tolerate the lousy performance, unpredictable availability, and occasional shock factor of the dark web, it's worth a visit. Just don't buy anything there. Deep web versus dark web. What's the difference? The terms deep web and dark web are sometimes used interchangeably, but they are not the same. Deep web refers to anything on the internet that is not indexed by and therefore accessible via a search engine like Google. Deep web content includes anything behind a paywall or requires sign-in credentials. It also includes any content that its owners have blocked web crawlers from indexing. Medical records, fee-based content, membership websites, and confidential corporate web pages are just a few examples of what makes up the deep web. Estimates place the size of the deep web at between 96% and 99% of the internet. Only a tiny portion of the internet is accessible through a standard web browser, generally known as the clear web. The dark web is a subset of the deep web that is intentionally hidden, requiring a specific browser, Tor, to access, as explained below. No one really knows the size of the dark web, but most estimates put it at around 5% of the total internet. Again, not all the dark web is used for illicit purposes, despite its ominous-sounding name. Dark web tools and services. The Into the Web of Profit report identified 12 categories of tools or services that could present a risk in the form of a network breach or data compromise. Infection or attacks, including malware, distributed denial of service, DDoS, and botnets access, including remote access Trojans, RATs, keyloggers, and exploits. Espionage, including services, customization, and targeting. Support services such as tutorials, credentials, phishing. Ref UND's customer data. Operational data, financial data. Intellectual property/trade secrets, other emerging threats. The report also outlined 3 risk variables for each category. 1. Devaluing the enterprise, which could include undermining brand trust, reputational damage, or losing ground to a competitor. 2. Disrupting the enterprise, which could include DDoS attacks or other malware that affects business operations. 3. Defrauding the enterprise, which could include IP theft or espionage that impairs a company's ability to compete or causes a direct financial loss. Ransomware as a service, RAS kits, have been available on the dark web for several years. But those offerings have become far more dangerous with the rise of specialized criminal groups like Revil or Gandcrab. These groups develop their own sophisticated malware, sometimes combined with pre-existing tools, and distribute them through affiliates. The affiliates distribute the ransomware packages through the dark web. These attacks often include stealing victims' data and threatening to release it on the dark web if the ransom isn't paid. This business model is successful and lucrative. IBM Security X-Force, for example, reported that 29% of its ransomware engagements in 2020 involved Revil. The criminal groups that develop the malware gets a cut of the affiliates' earnings, typically between 20% and 30%. IBM estimates that Revil's profits in the past year were $81 million. Dark web browser. All this activity, this vision of a bustling marketplace, might make you think that navigating the dark web is easy. It isn't. The place is as messy and chaotic as you would expect when everyone is anonymous and a substantial minority are out to scam others. Accessing the dark web requires the use of an anonymizing browser called Tor. The Tor browser routes your web page requests through a series of proxy servers operated by thousands of volunteers around the globe, rendering your IP address unidentifiable and untraceable. Tor works like magic, but the result is an experience that's like the dark web itself. Unpredictable, unreliable, and maddeningly slow. Still, for those willing to put up with the inconvenience, the dark web provides a memorable glimpse at the seamy underbelly of the human experience, without the risk of skulking around in a dark alley. Dark web search engine. Dark web search engines exist, but even the best are challenged to keep up with the constantly shifting landscape. The experience is reminiscent of searching the web in the late 1990s. Even one of the best search engines, called Grams, returns results that are repetitive and often irrelevant to the query. Linked lists like the hidden wiki are another option, but even indices also return a frustrating number of timed-out connections and 404 errors. Dark web websites. Dark web websites look pretty much like any other site, but there are important differences. One is the naming structure. Instead of ending in .com or .so, dark web websites end in .onion. That's a special-use top-level domain suffix designating an anonymous hidden service reachable via the Tor network, according to Wikipedia. Browsers with the appropriate proxy can reach these sites, but others can't. Dark web websites also use a scrambled naming structure that creates URLs that are often impossible to remember. For example, a popular commerce site called Dream Market goes by the unintelligible address of eajlvm3z2lca76.onion. Many dark websites are set up by scammers who constantly move around to avoid the wrath of their victims. Even commerce sites that may have existed for a year or more can suddenly disappear if the owners decide to cash in and flee with the escrow money they're holding on behalf of customers. Law enforcement officials are getting better at finding and prosecuting owners of sites that sell illicit goods and services. In the summer of 2017, a team of cybercops from 3 countries successfully shut down Alpha Bay, the dark web's largest source of contraband, sending shudders throughout the network. But many merchants simply migrated elsewhere. The anonymous nature of the Tor network also makes it especially vulnerable to DDoS, said Keeper's Ticket. Sites are constantly changing addresses to avoid DDoS, which makes for a very dynamic environment, he said. As a result, the quality of search varies widely, and a lot of material is outdated. For sale on the dark web. The dark web has flourished thanks to Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency that enables 2 parties to conduct a trusted transaction without knowing each other's identity. Bitcoin has been a major factor in the growth of the dark web, and the dark web has been a big factor in the growth of Bitcoin, says TK. Nearly all dark web commerce sites conduct transactions in Bitcoin or some variant, but that doesn't mean it's safe to do business there. The inherent anonymity of the place attracts scammers and thieves. But what do you expect when buying guns or drugs is your objective? Dark web commerce sites have the same features as any e-retail operation, including ratings, SaaS reviews, shopping carts, and forums. But there are important differences. One is quality control. When both buyers and sellers are anonymous, the credibility of any rating system is dubious. Ratings are easily manipulated, and even sellers with long track records have been known to suddenly disappear with their customers' crypto coins, only to set up shop later under a different alias. Most e-commerce providers offer some kind of escrow service that keeps customer funds on hold until the product has been delivered. However, in the event of a dispute, don't expect service with a smile. It's pretty much up to the buyer and the seller to duke it out. Every communication is encrypted, so even the simplest transaction requires a PGP key. Even completing a transaction is no guarantee that the goods will arrive. Many need to cross international borders, and customs officials are cracking down on suspicious packages. The dark web news site, Deep.web, teems with stories of buyers who have been arrested or jailed for attempted purchases. As in the real world, the price you pay for stolen data fluctuates as the market changes. According to Privacy Affairs' Dark Web Price Index 2021, these are the most current prices for some of the data and services commonly traded over the dark web. Cloned credit card with PIN, $25 to $35 credit card details with account balance up to $5,000, 240 stolen online banking logins with at least $2,000 in the account, 120 PayPal transfers from stolen accounts, $50 to 340 hacked Coinbase verified account, 610 hacked social media account, $1 to 60 hacked Gmail account, 80 hacked eBay account with good reputation, $1,000